name's Ferguson. I'm a software developer intern, and I'm working at 7shifts. So 7shifts is like a team management solution for restaurants. So this is like something that's going to enable restaurant managers to deal with hiring, training, and retaining and scheduling their employees. But one thing that I really think is cool about 7shifts is all the employee-facing features. So there's like a built-in chat. There's like a shift pooling, so you can trade your shifts all through the app and stuff like that. As a software developer, you're mostly just writing code, but you're also maintaining code, you're testing code, and you're planning the construction of new code. So it's a job mostly focused around code, but there's a lot of other stuff than just writing new code as well. Because I'm at the intern or junior level, most of my day is actually just writing code, but the way we structure that is in cycles of 2 weeks called a sprint, and then we also break down the work even further into individual units of work called a ticket. So a typical day for me might be taking a ticket and writing or doing whatever the ticket describes. So sometimes that's writing new code, sometimes that's fixing a bug that a user has noticed, sometimes that's improving the quality of our code without actually writing any new features. That's called a refactoring. So once I decide what ticket I'm going to work on, I actually just start coding, and that might involve actually sitting at my computer and writing code, or it might be doing research to make sure I'm writing the right thing. It might be communicating with design or product or some other stakeholder to make sure, again, we want to be building the right thing, we want to be building it in the right way. So if I'm not actually writing the code, I'm making sure that I'm building the right thing by talking to who I need to talk to, basically. Sometimes for really complicated things, we do something called pair programming. So this is where two programmers will actually work on the same computer. One person acts as a driver writing code, the other person acts as a navigator who figures out what we're going to do and what we're going to do next. So for really complicated tasks, this can break up the mental load. It's one of my favorite things to do personally because I find you can get a lot more done. And then once you're done coding, you submit what's called a pull request, which is just a way for other software developers to review your work. This is a practice that has been proven to really reduce the amount of errors. So that's the last stage of the process. If there's any feedback on that pull request, then I'll have to apply that to my code. And then once it's ready to be delivered, then we ship it off and it goes live on our website. I didn't write a line of code until university. I wanted to be a linguistics, go into academic linguistics, but I took one intro class and hated it. But I took this intro to computer science class and didn't know anything. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's I can tell computers what to do. That's awesome. So another year after that, and I got to my second year of university, I decided I'm going to be a software developer. I'm going to make this my goal. And so I started trying to do things that would help me get there. And a big piece of that was the CSPIP program, so the Computer Science Professional Internship Program that the U of S has. Which is really cool. They do a bunch of workshops to help you with work skills and interview prep and stuff like that. And then if you get hired, you get placed into a 16-month co-op work placement program, which is what I'm in right now. And then after another year, I go back to school, finish off my degree, and then I'll be done my education and training at that point. I did the computer science Bachelor of Science, so it's the 4-year, a lot more academic. Is the path that I chose. Lots of heavy theory. There's some math courses you have to take on top of that. The other typical path is the 2-year CST program at SIEC, or I guess Polytech, which is also a really good program. I think I'd want to say there's a 50-50 split maybe at the company from both programs, and all the developers from both programs are awesome. So those are kind of the two main paths. I think a good software developer is someone who's willing to collaborate and talk to people and work together on a problem. I think there's a lot of this job that's communicating, because writing code is really slow and really hard and challenging and expensive. So you want to make sure you're writing the right code, and a lot of that is collaboration, and it can be complicated too, so you need to be talking with your other software developers on your team and things like that. So collaboration is such a huge part of it, and I think being willing to work on problems in a team and with other people, with other really smart people, you have to want to do that to be good at this job. So that's one big piece. And another big piece is I think really good software developers just solving problems and puzzles. Most of your job is just solving little puzzles. So if you're the kind of person who thinks that's really interesting and wants to build something cool and find the best way to do that, the simplest solution for a problem, I think that's another thing that makes someone a good software developer. I definitely love how much I have to learn to do it well. So I'm always picking up new skills, learning new things. There's so much to know in the world of software and the world of tech, I guess, that you're always learning something new, and you can't know everything either. So you're always having to work with people who know the thing you don't. So it's that collaboration, working with people who know something or really good at what they do, and you're like helping each other with your skill set, and like learning new things all the time is like really fun for me. At Seven Shifts in particular, we do lots of like professional development stuff as well. So like dev talks and things like that, where we can like share new things we've learned and like give little lectures to each other on like things we think are cool. So that's like probably my favorite part of the job. And then another thing I really like is like, I find it really satisfying to like build something and see like, oh wow, like tens of thousands of people like used this piece of code I wrote. Like that's really satisfying, especially because like coming from the school experience, you build a silly little program that your teacher or professor grades and you never see it again. And you don't know if it's actually working well or not. But when potentially thousands of people are going to use your code, they're going to find every possible mistake. So like there's nothing as satisfying as writing some code that's going to work for everybody and work well. One of the most intimidating things about learning programming in particular is how much it can feel like everyone else around you like knows so much more than you do. Like it can feel so intimidating. You know, I took my first year university course for computer science and it felt like everyone else already knew anything because they took high school CS. I'm sure people taking high school CS maybe feel behind if they went to like programming camps or something or just learned on their own, and it can feel like you're like starting from behind. But what I would say is that you don't have to be an expert before you start. Like you can always just start learning whenever. There's lots of people who don't even learn anything about programming until after they got their bachelor's in something else. So you can never be too behind, and there's so many free resources out there to just learn what you want to learn. So I'd say like, yeah, don't feel intimidated because people know what you don't know. Like the reason that, you know, these CS classes are offered in high school and university is to teach you things. You don't have to already know those things. I also see a lot of students who did all that work before and then now feel very like in their own head that they're like, oh, I'm like so good at everything already. What I would say is you're always going to hit a wall, and that wall might not be in high school, that wall might not be in university even, that wall might not be until you've been working for 10 years, but you're going to hit a knowledge gap at some point. And I think it's really important if you are someone who's already really passionate, already building stuff, and like already doing really well in your computer science classes or whatever, to know that like you have to develop that skill of not knowing something and being comfortable with not knowing something, but having the like resources and know-how to like get over that knowledge gap is another really important thing. If you're someone who already is maybe interested, like just like build stuff that you think is fun. I think that's a way to know if you're like interested in it or not. That's like where the passion comes from. That's what I like about this job. So like, you know, do events, like build little video games and stuff like that. Like try to host a Minecraft server for your friends or something like that. Like all these little things that I did when I was in high school. Again, I didn't take a CS class in high school, but like I did these little things and like was like, oh, we can like make it work. I think that's another fun thing that's like not even just for like career prospects, but it's just like fun to do those things too. There's so many sectors that like have a demand for good developers, and the skill set that you have as a developer also applies to things that aren't necessarily software development either. So I think like a good education in tech is something that can really help you in like any field. Something I think about a lot is like how many tasks you can automate by knowing a simple programming language like Python or something that's commonly taught in schools, right? Knowing how to use those tools to just like make your life easier, even if you're not writing code for other people, if you're not working as a software developer, like knowing how to automate those things can just like make you more effective at whatever you want to be doing. So I think that's like a big thing about getting an education with some computer science, or even just getting an education in computer science as a whole, is those skills are just pretty broadly applicable, especially when like computers are everywhere nowadays. So like knowing how to tell them what to do is a really valuable skill.